Coming up on Bloom, peak performance coach Karen Donaldson is helping us communicate with confidence.
I choose to show up with confidence in this situation. Know that people will judge you. Like it, don't like it, it's gonna happen, but know that we have to be the biggest judge of ourselves.
Plus, meet a woman who went from tragedy to triumph. And Miss Orlando's teen is encouraging other teens to chase their dreams with confidence. We'll have all that and more as Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, starts now. I'm Gayle Guyardo. Welcome to Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging. Communication and confidence are pillars of health, inside and out. And here to kick things off is peak performance coach Karen Donaldson. Karen, what a pleasure it is to have you here in person.
Oh, it's amazing to see you face to face finally.
I know, we've been virtual friends for years now. You've been helping our Bloom viewers gain confidence throughout the years. And that's really something so important for every aspect of life.
It really is. I mean, no matter if you're communicating in front of people, one-on-one, asking for what you want, being confident when you do so, and just becoming comfortable in your own skin is super important in life in general. No matter your age, no matter your occupation, confidence is key and the foundation for so many things in life.
Yeah, and you actually wrote a book about this, Speak Like You Breathe, Straight Talk, to say what you mean, be heard, and get noticed. And so many people are looking to do that.
It is so true. Gayle, here's the thing. When it comes to confidence and communicating with confidence in my book, Speaking Up, the key is this. People are committed to the wrong thing. They are committed to the outcome. Instead of being committed to what I have to say matters, and my opinion matters, and it's valid despite what other people think. So when we start to shift our commitment and stop worrying about other people because we can't control them anyway, and commit to speaking up, saying what we want and how we feel, things start to shift and people start to see us for ourselves and treat us accordingly.
Now, a lot of times when we're talking to people, and I think it speaks to what you just said, that you're worried about the outcome, we fear we're going to be met with resistance. And many times, you're right, you are going to be met with resistance, but how do you get past that to get to the confidence, to get to what you really want to say? Because I want to kind of circle back to where the origin needs to come from.
A really good question. Most people believe that confidence is an emotion, and due to the latest study, there are only 37 emotions. And confidence still is not one. It's a behavior and an attitude, which means it's a choice. So as you go into different situations, you need to have a conversation with yourself and let yourself know that I choose to show up with confidence in this situation. Know that people will judge you. Like it, don't like it, it's gonna happen, but know that we have to be the biggest judge of ourselves. And that's one of the ways you can shift and pull up that confidence and say, you know what, this is who I am. Some will like me, some won't, but I stand true to myself.
I like that, and I want to hit on the fear of being judged, because look, I've been in this industry for decades, and that's all people do is judge me one way or the other. I mean, I appreciate the people that have supported me all these years, but they're always going to be the naysayers. It is so hard to not fear judgment when you're trying to communicate. How do you throw that out the window?
So it's not even to remove it completely, it's to acknowledge it.
Okay.
The fact is, no matter how nice we are, so even if I gave everyone $1,000 and I had 10,000, there will be one person who will say, well, I knew Karen a little bit longer, right? So you're going to acknowledge, number one, you're going to acknowledge that you're going to be judged.
Okay.
Number two, you're going to say, despite being judged, I'm still going to walk through this and show up as myself. We can't get rid of it. We get to learn how to deal with it. So when you acknowledge it, don't ignore it, but be committed to yourself more so than the judgment that might take place from other people. Because with judgment comes people's perceptions, their experiences. They may have had a really crappy day and went through a lot of traffic, and the only reason they're judging you in this moment, Gayle, is because of that driver who cut them off on the highway. So you have to truly commit to yourself and let go of other people's opinions of you. It's a process. Start small, but just do it in small occasions, and you'll find in larger events and occasions, you'll be able to show up with confidence as well.
And show up with confidence on a personal level, but you believe you also have to show up with confidence in what you're trying to communicate.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And a couple ways to do so are one of them is showing up in an assertive manner. Stop asking for permission. When it comes to your vocal tone, stop asking questions, start making statements. So instead of, you know, I have something to say, here's what I'd like to share. So what we say matters, and how we say it matters as well.
What if somebody on the receiving end thinks they know and tries to put things into your camp? Like, I know you said that, or I know you did this, or I know you think that way, I know this, I know that. What do you say to that?
Here's the thing. Do not react. I want you to respond. I want you to be respectful. Don't meet the abrasiveness with abrasiveness. You're going to allow them to finish speaking, and then you're going to say, here's what I did say. You may have misheard me, and just correct the person. That's it. Commit to that. Don't commit to this, because friction to fiction doesn't equal anything positive in any capacity.
Yeah, I know. It's like my husband always says, it's like having a conversation with a pig. The pig's all happy rolling around in the mud, and you just look dirty. So it's like you don't want to get down into the gutter with the person that you're communicating with.
You're either committed to a conversation or you're committed to conflict, because that's the other outcome.
Okay, this is a great conversation. People definitely have communication issues that they want to resolve. So the good news is Karen is sticking around to continue the talk. We'll be right back. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. Living the Tampa Bay lifestyle means enjoying the sand, sun, and outdoors fun. So get out, get active, and nurture those healthy habits. Hey there, I'm Gayle Guyardo, host of Bloom. Now there's a new all-inclusive place with everything you need to shape your lifestyle, boost your health, and improve your wellness. BloomTampaBay.com, Tampa Bay's premier health and wellness website, made to help you feel good. Whether you're a fitness fanatic, beauty buff, or just want to take your first step towards positive change, this free website is for you. See the Bay Area's hottest fitness products, the latest workout crazes, and learn nutrition tips from the experts. Plus, discover local events and experiences designed with your well-being in mind. Cultivate a healthy mind, body, and soul. Check out BloomTampaBay.com, your local health and wellness website. That's BloomTampaBay.com. We are back with how to communicate with confidence with peak performance coach Karen Donaldson. Karen, thanks for sticking around.
Indeed, lovely to be here.
Oh, it's so great to have you. I tell you, we've talked for years on Zoom because you're coming to us from, you know, thousands of miles away typically, but exciting to have you here. And you say one of the first things that we can do when it comes to communicating is be assertive, stop beating around the bush.
Absolutely. Get straight to the point. A lot of the time we believe in softly going into a topic or softly asking, and what happens there is we remove the actual ask. There's so much fluff around, you know, let me be nice, let me hint at it, let me allude to it, and you leave the conversation without even asking.
And you say part of that means, you know, like getting rid of the crutch words. We have these crutch words. Yes. What are they?
The ums, the ahs, the so's, the wells. And what that does is it allows you, or it makes you look indecisive. So you want to cut them out, and in place of the every moment you feel to say a crutch word like that, just pause. Stop talking. Just stop talking, take a breath, and then say what you want to say and remove those extra words, and it'll allow you to sound more confident as well.
I love that. Now, another thing that Karen specializes in that I think is so incredibly important is body language. Not only your own body language, but how to address someone else's.
Definitely. You always want to be reading the other person's body language. You want to show up as interested, and you'll tell if they're interested as well when they make direct eye contact. Don't look at their nose, don't look at their forehead or their chin, look directly in their eyes. The other thing you want to do is, it's called fronting. Do you see how we're facing each other? Mm-hmm. When you turn your upper body and you face the individual, that showcases that you're in a one-on-one conversation. Now, if the other person is slightly turning away, that's showing disinterest, right? And the last thing, when you're speaking to someone and you want to ensure that the whole essence of the conversation stays positive, if you do use hand gestures, you want to use your palms, your hands, and make sure your palms are upwards. It's inclusive, and it showcases that you're saying something positive.
I like that. And you say You know, the most important part about being a good communicator is being a good listener.
Actively listen. Great communicators listen more than they speak. They don't feel a need to preempt what they have to say or up the person. You want to listen just as much, sometimes more, than you actually communicate. So active listening is defer your prejudgment, stop answering people's responses before they finish speaking, and allow them to speak and receive it, honor it, and then respond.
Okay, what do you do with the difficult communicator, the person who knows everything?
We can't change someone else, right? So I always say, stay away from conflict. If they believe they know, leave it alone. If it's a conversation where you need to speak up, you simply enter the conversation with, here are my thoughts on that topic. Do not compare it, simply share your thoughts in a confident manner. And you can leave it at that.
I love that. Now, I know you coach people around the world. I mean, who comes to you? Like, what's your typical client?
Absolutely. I get a lot of C-suite executives who have to command attention and have to really connect with people, either their employees, their teams, their managers. I also work with a lot of entrepreneurs, celebrities, politicians. It's just a fun gamut. When someone's ready to shift how they communicate, shift how they present, and shift how they're received, I'm the person to go to.
Because shifting how you communicate can shift your entire life.
It really can. It shifts every outcome. It shifts your success. It shifts what you do and don't get and how you ask for things. You know, there's too many people who leave conversations upset at themselves because they did not say what they wanted to say. We need to do away with that.
And it also will strengthen our relationships, because as soon as, and I have found this, because this show truly, I don't just say this because it's our name, but it helps me bloom, and I hope it does the same for our viewers. But I try to take these tactics, and you communicate something and you're like, okay, that might have stung, but at least I said what I got to say, and most of the time it works out all right.
It really does, because people want to know who you honestly are, and they don't have to like everything, and vice versa. I don't have to like everything everyone else says, but at least I know you're being honest, I'm being transparent, and then we can connect on an authentic level, and that's what relationships are.
Thank you, Karen. All right, we're going to share Karen's story on BloomTampaBay.com, and you can read digital producer and reporter Brody Waddell's story as well. He has a full article there, and we are thrilled. Karen joined us for our podcast, The Bloom Health Club, in the WFLA Now Streaming Center to continue this incredible conversation. You can stream the full episode anytime on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. Saving lives through early detection is not just a slogan at Lifeguard Imaging. We hear so many life-saving stories from real people, and today we're bringing you another one. Joining me now from Lifeguard Imaging is the Vice President of Business Development, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and NFL great Martin Gramatica, along with Tim Lazaro, who is here to share his life-saving story. Gentlemen, it's great to see you both.
Good to see you.
So Tim, tell us a little bit about what happened to you.
Well, I heard about Lifeguard Imaging's free scans, and I was like, well, maybe I should get that checked out, just because, you know, it's something that everyone should do. So me and my wife went in, and they found some blockage, and they told me I should follow up with my doctor, and that's what I did.
So I understand you went to your doctor.
I did.
He did a CAT scan. You know, he did some testing, but still wasn't buying into something was wrong.
No, they didn't find anything or anything to put stents in anyway. But my health started declining even more, and I told him, I was like, something's wrong. So he went in and did another cath and found a major blockage in my right artery.
So this is something that you originally found by doing the Lifeguard Imaging free heart scan. You and your wife, you went in, you were proactive about your health, you went to your doctor, still no action. You have to become your own patient care advocate and say, look, doc, I'm declining. And so what did they find when they went in to do the surgery?
After the surgery, well, during the surgery, they did more scans and found another blockage in my left artery. So I had to do a double bypass.
This is incredible. So, Martine, this is yet another story of a life saved because of lifeguard imaging. You can be proactive, and what people don't understand is the high technology of this scan lifeguard imaging really makes all the difference when it comes to being able to spot issues.
Absolutely, Gayle. We could see a 2-millimeter shadow, which is the opening of a pen. And in Timothy's case, he ended up needing the double bypass, but a lot of our patients are catching it early where they may need a stent where the recovery is much easier. They don't have to open you up like they did with Timothy. So doing it the sooner the better is the key, because a lot of our patients now can change their health, as far as like nutrition, working out, and maybe medication, and not end up needing the bypass surgery.
But thank God that lifeguard imaging was there, because Timothy, had you not gotten that scan, the outcome could have been deadly.
Definitely. I mean, my situation was a little worse than others maybe, but if you get in there as soon as possible, you definitely could find things that you can correct. Like he said that, you know, with medications, there's a lot of technology out there that can go without getting opened up and having to go through what I've gone through.
Now, is it fair to say that lifeguard imaging saved your life?
Oh, definitely. I appreciate lifeguard imaging. If it wasn't for them, I would have never known I had a blockage. I'm only 45 years old.
You know, I talk to so many people. I can't tell you the times I hear people say, I don't think I want to know. Timothy, what would you tell somebody out there that would say, I don't know if I want to scan. Do I really want to know what's going on?
You definitely want to know, because you could just drop. I mean, I felt a little fatigued, but maybe I wasn't eating right. I don't know, but it was a lot more than that. And to say to them, I would get checked out. If you have a free scan like this, why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, it really is a gift. Again, I want to reiterate to our viewers, we're one of only 6 places in the country where you have access to this innovative technology. Yeah. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for coming in. Timothy, I'm so glad you're okay, and I can't tell you how much it means to us that you would share your story with our viewers, because I bet you're going to motivate a lot of people to get this done and save lives.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely important.
All right. Call today, right now, 813-582-5222, or visit lifeguardimaging.com. You'll receive a Bloom special offer, a free heart scan when you mention Gayle or Bloom. That's a $599 value. So call today, 813-582-5222 for this special offer. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this. Welcome back to Bloom. Regaining confidence and finding purpose after loss can be challenging. But our next guest went from tragedy to triumph and found her it factor. Joining me now with more is talent and branding manager with Woods Management Group, Elizabeth Woods. Elizabeth, it is such a pleasure to meet you.
Morning. So nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been looking so forward to this conversation because I think you're going to inspire a lot of people. I mean, throughout our journey, we experience loss, but man, yours happened quickly and very emotionally. Tell us what happened to your husband.
He wasn't feeling well for a while, couldn't eat or drink for about 3 weeks, so we didn't really know what was wrong with him, and then his body just started shutting down. So ambulance came and got him, took him to the hospital. The first 2 weeks in ICU, they said it was meningitis. 3 weeks into it, they said it's lymphoma. 4th week, they said it's stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He has 4 weeks. So I had to go home and tell the kids that you can't even put that time frame on their head, right? You can't say 4 weeks, because what if it's 4 minutes? What if it's 4 years? You can't even, I couldn't even put that in my kid's brain. So we brought him home 2 days after they told me. On Tuesday, Wednesday he passed. So 4 weeks was 4 days, but God let us get him home where we wanted him to be. And he didn't have to suffer for a long time, which you never want to see somebody that you love suffer.
No, I've been in those shoes, and it's a terrible place for the person who loves them and for the person going through it. So, you know, when something like this happens, it's life-altering. How were you able to find the courage to pivot and grow from it?
For me, I'm like, is there a choice?
Right.
We have kids. Life still has to go on. You still have to pay all of your bills. So you have to grieve while you're handling all of that. And my kids look at me as the pillar of strength. So for me, I'm like, is there a choice? So God just gives you that strength and you just keep it moving. Like there is no choice really. There's a choice. You either fall to the wayside, or you keep it pushing, and that's all I know how to do is keep it pushing.
And I know that you did lean into your faith, and when terrible things happen in our lives, you know, you can hit that fork in the road and be angry at God. Why did you do this to me? Or lean in to your faith. You know, how were you able to balance that?
I've never been angry at God. Never, not once. Because if you're really obedient to him, you know that this journey he already has set, and he knows before we do. So I'm like, okay, God, I trust the process, and we're going to really band together as a family, and you're going to use me as a vessel for other people going through this, because it was awful for us, but there's so many people going through it and even worse. So I'm like, God, just use me as a vessel and show people that they too can get through this. They just really have to trust in God, and they have to trust in their family, and it's part of the journey. It's painful, but you have to trust that it's part of the journey.
How did you rise from then the ashes? Like how, you know, once you feel the sorrow and the pain and the hurt, all these emotions, this roller coaster that we go on after we experience tremendous loss, then, you know, you rebranded, you found your purpose. Talk to me about that.
You know, you really, I'm so in that emotion that we were just talking about. You really just keep it moving, and you lean into. I don't think my business ever kind of fell to the wayside.
Right.
I just kept.
So you already had your branding business.
I just kept it moving. Yes.
Okay, because a lot of times that can fuel us and give us something to do while we process loss. And so you can kind of redirect things. And so you have this tremendous branding business. Tell me a little bit about that.
I started my management company about 10 years ago when I started managing Jordan, one of my daughters.
Okay.
Added people to the roster. And then my youngest daughter, Jody, who's now 17, she is coming up the rank. She's doing her own amazing thing, so I'm managing her too. And I have a bunch of
So you're a momager first and foremost.
Yeah. That mama bear first and foremost. Right. And then I added people to the roster, and I'm just really about integrity and really trying to change the narrative and have it centered with faith and have it centered with integrity and always being focused and being positive.
Yeah, and I was on your Instagram page. You have a huge following, and I saw that there is always that thread of faith. Your daughters are blowing up, and a lot of this does center around fashion.
They love fashion. For me, they're going to cringe that I said this. For me, I've always been that farm girl from Michigan, right?
Right.
So you see Elle wears sneakers to match everything. They're really these fashion icons, and they love it. I love it, but I'm more the negotiator on the back end of it. But they love it, and I'm able to see them blossom, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah, and you're giving them confidence and, you know, growing your own confidence along the way.
You know what? If I can be pivotal in bringing awareness and just making everything positive, then like that's really what I'm a vessel for. Okay. We all have to make money, but it's really not about that. It's about how can I affect change? How can I bring other people to self-awareness and finding a voice?
That's what it's all about.
You
right
know
there.
what? People always remember how you make them feel, and,
yes.
and that's really what I'm about.
That's really. I say let's end it on that, because that is the most beautiful quote. People always remember how you made them feel, and
your individuality is your best gift that you have, because only you have your journey.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for bringing your incredible energy to our Bloom viewers.
Thank you so very much.
All right.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. All right, we're going to share Elizabeth's story on BloomTampaBay.com. We will be back with more Bloom right after this. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging. We begin where your checkup ends. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. In a ineffective communications or no communication at all can lead to misunderstandings and disagreements. But on the flip side, communicating clearly and with confidence leads to healthier relationships. Joining us now with more is behavioral scientist and the author of 7 Layers of Successful Relationships, Dr. Gino Calora. Dr. Gino, it is so great to see you.
Gayle, always a pleasure.
This is a really good conversation to be having because people really struggle when it comes to communicating and how.
110%. Look, here's the big elephant in the room when it comes to communication, right? Stress, right? Stress is such a big thing here, especially when we're thinking about what is the other person going to think about what I'm saying, right? Let alone being able to process all of the emotions and thoughts that we have. Like, look, it's really difficult. How many times have you been in discussions and conversations and you're saying something, you're like, is that really what I want to say? Because it's coming out this way, but it may not be exactly what I want it to be, right? It happens, right? It happens to us on a very regular basis. So being able to stop and take a step back and really understand what do we want to convey to this person at this moment in time. Because look, it's tough. It's not easy.
And there's so many times that communication skills and having good ones come into play. It could be work, relationships. I mean, you really have to have this rock solid. But a lot of times when we struggle is when we're trying to communicate something that we're in conflict with the other person.
Big time, right? So this is what I always like to tell folks when it comes to communication. So there's 3 parts to communication. First and foremost, we communicate as a means of doing what? Communing. Well, what is communing? Communing means to share. Why do we share? To build community, or we should be trying to build community, not tear each other down. So when we're dealing with conflict, what are we actually saying? We're dealing with a misalignment of values and perspective. So what does it take for us to be able to understand objectively, where are you coming from and where am I coming from? So where does that start? Well, first and foremost, let's take the emotions and calm them down a little bit, because look, especially when we're in conflict, we're in fight or flight. And if we're in fight or flight, the part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, that allows us to have higher level thinking, higher emotional processing, it goes to the wayside because it's just thinking about, I need to get my point across and you need to see where I'm coming from, instead of, let me understand where you're coming from and let me find that middle ground, that 50-50, to make this conversation productive.
You know, I was just thinking, like, we should do like a show and tell or a mock communication trial here on the show one of these days, because sometimes you're communicating with somebody and no matter how steady Eddie you try to stay, they're up here.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
and it's like, it's so hard to talk to somebody when they're coming at you or not backing down and not taking the emotion out of it.
Absolutely. And so this is a concept, right, psychologically, that's called mirroring, right, where you try to mirror someone's emotions or their reactions or their energy. Look, and sometimes it works great. Other times it can backfire big time, right? So you really have to understand, hey, what are we talking about and what's the importance factor? How important is it to them? How important is it to me? At the end of the day, what's the objective? What do I want to accomplish? Because in the heat of the moment, it's very easy to forget that because we start going ping pong. It's a ping pong, right? Tit for tat.
And it's about being right.
That's exactly right. And it's not about let's get to a constructive and productive conclusion. It's about, no, in this moment in time, you're going to see it my way. And if you don't, then you're wrong. That doesn't get us anywhere, right? We want to find what is that mutual ground that's going to be productive where we can get to a place of happiness in our relationship.
I like that. I like that. Now, once we get that down packed in whatever relationship this is, work, play, whatever, romantic.
Sure.
Once you figure it out, it can really blossom your life.
It changes everything, right? When we can kind of crack that code, we can put that Rubik's Cube together, right? And figure out, okay, so this is how this individual, this is their preferred method of not just talking, but also listening, right? Listening styles matter in a very big way. The most effective communicators in the world are also the best listeners. So are you yourself doing a good job at listening to what the other person is actually trying to convey? So that's number 1. Number 2, look, being able to breathe and calm down, right? Relax. When you're listening to the other person, let's take a lot of the preconceived notions and the judgments that we have, which all of us do. It's very normal, right? Let's put them to the wayside, make a hard choice, put them to the side, and let's just see the world through that other individual's eyes. And then we can come back to our world, but let's figure out kind of where they're coming from first so we can figure out the best way to kind of blend both perspectives together, then ultimately get to a place where hopefully we can see things in a similar perspective. It doesn't have to be the same, but similar.
So we're talking about building confidence throughout this process. How do you do that?
So first and foremost, right, so I think this is a really important thing because so many folks misinterpret what confidence is, right? So confidence comes from confide, it's Latin, right? What does that mean? Fide is faith. Faith in what? Belief. Belief in yourself, right? So you have to believe in what you're saying. Look, how many times, especially with social media now, People will just put stuff out there to put stuff out there, to stir the pot a little bit. It doesn't necessarily mean that they believe in what it is that they're saying. How many times in discussions and conversations will we say things just because it's like this awkward silence and someone needs to say something? It's not the case, right? You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because if you don't actually believe in what you're saying, what is the reality of what it is that you're trying to convey? Because it's hollow. Right? You're not a hollow individual, neither are they. It has to have something of substance. And that's where we have to get to. We have to get to a place of, do I actually believe in what I'm saying? Do I understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we don't. We'll say things and we don't quite understand how we got there, let alone how the other person is going to perceive or interpret what we're saying.
So what you're saying is that if I am coming from a place of authenticity and I truly believe what I'm saying, then I'm going to automatically have confidence.
110%. Now, you will have confidence in what you're saying. The confidence that you have in how the other person is judging you is a different story. That's a different perception of how important is it what this person thinks about me, right? That is a whole different shift. That's a different mindset, right? But what we're saying, that is a question of belief.
Okay, we only have 30 seconds left, so you're not going to be able to answer this. We'll have to do it for another show. But is there a way to shut down somebody else's preconceived notions of you?
So the short answer is yes and no, right? It's not the answer you're going for, right? Because it's very, very difficult, right? When we are challenging someone, because it is a challenge, right? To be able to shift and alter their preconceived notions. Look, the brain, that's what it's designed to do, the reticular activating system in particular, right? It's designed to shape someone up, make a quick judgment so I can make sense of it. What we're saying is, let's reverse that a little bit, drop that inhibition, and now I want you to just look at me for who I am and not who you think I am. That's a whole different ballgame.
I like it. All right, we're going to share this conversation on BloomTampaBay.com, and we'll be back with more Bloom right after this. Welcome back to Bloom. Conquering challenges in life allows us to push beyond our comfort zones, leading to personal growth and development. So we're helping you conquer confidence. Joining me now is award-winning podcast host of Fearlessly Facing 50 and Beyond and the author of Cannonball, Fearlessly Facing Midlife and Beyond, Amy Schmidt. Amy, it is always so great to see you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Let's dig into this. This is the best.
It really is, and I love your messaging because so many women, they don't want to be shoved aside when they hit a certain age. We still have a lot of life to live.
Oh, amen. Absolutely. You know, I like to think about it as this cannonball. That's why I called my book Cannonball, because remember when we were kids and we would go to the high dive and we'd jump off and we'd cannonball, we'd be like, yes. Yeah. And everybody would say, oh, do it again, and you had no fear, nothing. And then as we get older, we get stopped on those rungs of the ladder, and it's like, oh, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, so then I'll do it then. You know, but there's no expiration date. We have all this time and all this knowledge to cannonball into this phase.
I love it. Cannonball, what a great way to think about it. And you say one of the first ways to start doing that is to acknowledge your accomplishments.
It's so important. And we so undervalue ourselves. It's easy for us to do. Yeah. So I talk about something called a highlight reel, where you actually look back, you know, a decade or two or three or more, and you look at what you've done, your accomplishments, your triumphs, your successes, your failures, because those are all your stories. And then all of a sudden you look at these experiences and say, wow, I did do that. You know, there was a woman a while ago in her 50s, and she was downsized, but she still wanted to work and she still needed to work, and she was going for jobs. And she was trying to check every box like we do so often, right? You want to check everything, you got to check it all, otherwise you take yourself out of the ring. And all of a sudden when she looked back at her highlight reel, she said, I did do that. I did that in my 30s.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, those experiences translate. So we have to do that. We have to create our own greatest hits for ourselves.
I think that's a remarkable idea. I want to touch a little bit. You briefly mentioned failure, and I think for so many women, including myself, when we hit failure, we let that drag us down instead of learning from it and moving forward.
Yes, exactly. And I think as we get older too, you have to realize, you know, I say this with my kids all the time, what's the worst case scenario? Everything's figure-outable, right? So you learn through failure. You learn through failure. When I started the podcast, and you'll know this, you know, as being a journalist, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I go, and I'm going through all the steps, and all of a sudden I did my first interview, and then I look for the audio file. It's a podcast. You need an audio file.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot to push record.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I didn't have it. And then I thought, okay, I'm in my 50s. What am I doing? Like, should I do this? Should I just stop? You get stuck with this fear or this self-doubt. But I thought, you know what? Everything's figure-outable. What's the worst case scenario? Just push forward and you learn through it.
I agree. And I think too, like you say, to stay in a constant state of learning. And when I pivoted from news to this show, like when I couldn't do news anymore because of my vocal cord issues, I'm like, what am I going to do? This has been the last 3.5, almost 4 years of my life have been a constant state of learning. And you and I were talking about this before the cameras went hot. It's been the most fulfilling chapter of my life. And who knew
that's goosebumps.
well into my 50s that you could do that?
Yes, embrace being a novice. Embrace being a novice. And if there's skills that you need to enhance, you know what, there's so many resources out there. And we have to ask for help, right? Now, I remember in my 20s and my 30s, as a journalist, I'm trying to get further, faster. And I thought I could do it by myself. But now, as you learn and as you get older, you're like, oh, if I ask for help, it's fabulous. You have all these resources. So embrace lifetime learning. It's such a great thing. And, you know, you learn through everything you do. Every interview I've ever done, I walk away learning something.
Yeah.
And it's so fabulous.
Yeah, and if we're not using it, as this is not just some trite saying, if you're not using it, you are losing it.
Yes.
As we age and we stay in a constant state of learning, we never stop growing.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about.
It is. Yeah.
So any, like, you know, any advice that you want to leave our viewers with when it comes to conquering fear?
Yeah, you know, I think a couple of things, and I've had to do this, and you have to check in with yourself every so often. It's all about mindfulness. It's doing a life audit, and it's doing a time audit. How are you spending your time? Who are you investing your time with? You know, are you scrolling through social media and feeling like deflated, or feeling like, oh, how can she do that? I can't do that anymore. You know, look how you're investing your time and fill that cup with joy and with kindness and with encouragement. And then look at a life audit. Look who you're spending your time with, the people that you surround yourself with. You know, are they adding joy to your life? Are they your pillars that really lift you up? That's what you need to do. And that's how you conquer fear. And, you know, you just have to keep going and pushing play instead of pause and try new things. You know, it's a fabulous time of life.
It is.
And we learn from each other. And I've learned so much from you. Just watching you throughout, you know, over the years.
You're very kind.
And how you learn from others and you listen. And I think that's all part of it. That's how we conquer our fears.
That means a lot to me, and it means a lot to me that you could join us on Bloom. I hope you come back real soon. I love our conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're going to find Amy's story on BloomTampaBay.com. And before we go to break, it's time for today's Bloom trivia question. Which generation struggles to set healthy boundaries the most? Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, or Baby Boomers? We'll find out later on Bloom. A small-town girl with big city dreams is encouraging other teens to chase their dreams with confidence after being crowned Miss Orlando's Teen 2024. Here to tell us more about her experience is Miley Hastings. Miley, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And welcome. So talk to me a little bit about the experience of winning and how you hope to inspire other young girls like yourself.
Yeah, so I come from a very small town in Plant City, Florida, and I've had some experience in the town that I knew that I was bigger than it. I knew I had to go out to a city, somewhere where I can bring my platform and bring agriculture into more urban areas. So I decided to go out for Miss Orlando's Teen, and I was defying the odds because in Orlando, it's so urban, it's so city. And so for me, being a little farmer girl in agriculture, going to this pageant and just giving it all I got, I just was truly authentically me. And I think the judges truly appreciated that and saw through me. And so I want to encourage everyone to go out and be who you are, no matter what the platform or what the barrier is.
And speaking of barriers, you're breaking barriers, actually stepping into a man's world. I mean, agriculture is predominantly run by men.
Yes.
And to see a woman in this is really incredible because how we grow our foods, how we feed the folks around us is very important. It's downright our livelihood. I mean, it's how we live.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that, what that's like.
Yeah, so growing up in agriculture and pageantry as well, I was always told that I was too country to be in pageants, but I was too updone and pretty to be in agriculture. And so I knew when it came to deciding what my platform was going to be for the Miss America opportunity, I knew I had to do Sew Sisters, which encourages and empowers young women to step out into the agriculture industry and break these barriers. And so I'm doing exactly that by wearing my cowboy boots on stage during my Her Story and truly being me and showing America, showing Orlando exactly what our farmers do and how agriculture provides for us every single day.
It really does. And I know one of my daughters, she was in Future Farmers of America, which you're still a part of.
Yes.
And so what's next for you? Like, what do you hope to do?
Yeah, so I want to attend the University of Florida. Thankfully, I'm dual enrolled through HCC, so I've got my AA paid for so far. But I want to go to University of Florida and major in biotechnology to become a geneticist. I want to create genetically modified organisms, and that's also a big part of why I'm in this position today, because things like GMOs have so much misinformation surrounding around them through things like social media and the news. And so I want to be the person to break those barriers and break those misconceptions as well, because I know that my job and my career wouldn't be possible unless I have the people's vote.
I like it. Well, that's really, really fascinating. So, and you're right, and tackling a subject like GMOs is going to be a tough one, because, you know, you look at food and they're like, oh, I don't want GMO, but others will say it's the wave of the future. It's the only way we're going to be able to feed so many mouths. Well, listen, congratulations to you. Thank you for, sharing with our Bloom viewers, young and old alike, that you can do anything, and just because you come from a small town doesn't mean you can't do big things in life. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to share this story with you on bloomtampabay.com, and we will be back with more Bloom right after this. It's time for today's Bloom trivia question. Which generation struggles to set healthy boundaries the most? Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, or Baby Boomers? The answer is Gen Z, according to the Thriving Center of Psychology. In a survey of more than 1,000 Americans, they found younger generations had the most trouble saying no. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Bloom. You can catch Bloom anytime by following us on social media. We're on all major platforms, so get a behind-the-scenes look at all of the innovative breakthrough health and wellness conversations and incredible guests that we have right here on Bloom. And don't forget to check out our podcast, The Bloom Health Club. You can catch it live on Facebook and YouTube on Mondays at 2 p.m. We take a deep dive and have extended conversations with some of the top guests that we have right here on Bloom. Of course, you can stream episodes anytime on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. Well, we hope you'll tune in again on the next Bloom presented by Lifeguard Imaging. It's our weight loss special. We'll tell you about the boom of weight loss drugs and answer your most asked questions. Plus, double certified nutritionist Martha Van Camp shares her personal weight loss journey and tips for overcoming body dysmorphia. And the Today Show's Joy Bauer is whipping up nutrient-rich veggie dips in this week's What the Health. So stay healthy, everyone, and I will see you on the next Bloom. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today.